Welcome, everyone! Let's jump right in. Today, we're treating this explainer like an archaeology university course, launching a full-on scientific investigation into one of the most unparalleled sites on Earth, Pompeii. We aren't just looking at the tragedy of this bustling first-century Roman hub being wiped out. We're going to dig into the precise geological and chemical mechanics that practically froze it in time. It's a profound case study in human adaptation, urban catastrophe, and the actual science of archaeological preservation. Okay, let's dive into this. The central paradox we're tackling today is this. How exactly does a deadly, city-destroying volcanic event end up becoming the ultimate historic gift to modern archaeology? To really wrap our heads around the stratigraphy, the layers of history, and this insane level of preservation, we first need to analyze the living organism of Pompeii's urban environment before the ash ever started falling. Section 1. The Golden Age of Pompeii. Let's examine this absolute peak era of economic prosperity and urban development. And this brilliantly illustrates what was happening at the time. Pompeii was undergoing rapid Romanization. Wealthy elites were throwing up these elegant villas covered in marble facades and intricate frescoes, really showing off their status. But underneath all that flashy Roman veneer, ancient local Oscan traditions were totally surviving. We see this archaeologically through specific artifacts, like Oscan inscriptions found on private household shrines called laria. These families were quietly keeping their deeply rooted family ceremonies alive right inside their homes, away from the public eye. So the population adapted to Roman influence while fiercely retaining their own cultural identity. Geographically, Pompeii was blessed. Sitting right on the Bay of Naples made it an absolute economic powerhouse. When we look at excavated amphorae and commercial records, they reveal a massive export economy. Merchant ships were constantly moving huge quantities of Campanian wine, olive oil, textiles, and the highly prized Roman fermented fish sauce, garum. This non-stop maritime flow totally sustained a booming local and regional market. All that economic energy fueled a wonderfully noisy, vibrant civic life. Just imagine the streets buzzing. You'd have vendors shouting out prices from commercial stalls crammed into narrow alleyways, bathhouses serving as essential centers for both hygiene and big business negotiations, and a massive amphitheater that regularly drew tens of thousands of cheering spectators. For the citizens living within its walls, the city felt entirely permanent, unshakable. Section 2. Warnings from the Earth. Let's analyze the geological red flags leading up to the catastrophe. The sequence of geological events leading up to the final eruption is a tragic story of completely misunderstood seismic precursors. Back in 62 AD, a severe tectonic shift caused a massive earthquake that heavily damaged the Campania region. Pompeii rebuilt, of course, but crucially, in the ensuing years, smaller tremors just became super common. Because minor seismic activity was sort of routine in the region anyway, the population basically normalized these localized tremors, completely misinterpreting the critical warning signs of a waking volcano. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast between the surface ecology and the subterranean geology. Up top, Vesuvius was perceived merely as a dormant, fertile mountain covered in lush vineyards. But deep below, magma was rapidly rising through hidden conduits. Lethal volatile gases were accumulating under immense pressure in the magma chamber. The mountain was actively building toward a catastrophic Plinian eruption, and it was going completely undetected by the Roman world above. Section 3. The sky shatters. The harrowing reality of August 24th, 79 AD. The eruption sequence escalated with terrifying speed. In the initial Plinian phase, around midday, a colossal thermal column of ash and pumice surged literally miles up into the stratosphere. As the hours dragged on, the sheer, crushing weight of falling lapilli and ash caused widespread roof collapses, plunging the city into total darkness as panic replaced curiosity. Then came the final, deadliest phase. Superheated pyroclastic surges racing down the mountain's flanks. These superheated pyroclastic flows traveled at inescapable velocities, carrying toxic gases and volcanic debris at hundreds of degrees. There was simply no time to run, and literally nowhere to hide. In mere moments, the entire urban center was completely engulfed, vanishing beneath thick layers of volcanic strata. Just like that, the once vibrant streets fell entirely silent. Section 4. Buried under the ash. How the Roman world moved on and nature took over. Nature quickly reclaimed the disaster zone. Over time, fields and vegetation eventually covered the ruins, with vines growing directly over the compacted ground where citizens once debated and traded. Years turned into decades, and decades stretched into centuries. Without visible landmarks, the exact geographical location of Pompeii faded from memory, transitioning from a historical reality into a lost legend. So the crucial point is, for nearly 1,700 years, this entire urban complex sat perfectly undisturbed beneath meters of compacted volcanic earth. 1,700 years. It was entirely lost to the historical record until unexpected 18th century excavations began to unearth strange walls, statues, and painted frescoes in the region. Section 5. Rediscovery and Frozen Time. Let's look at the dawn of modern archaeological science at the site. As those early excavators quickly realized, the city wasn't just destroyed, it was chemically preserved. It was literally a time capsule. The sheer density of the pumice and ash layers created an anaerobic, meaning oxygen-free environment. This total lack of oxygen halted the bacterial growth that's responsible for natural decay. Plus, the dry, sterile chemical conditions of the volcanic material meant that even highly delicate organic things, like wooden furniture, woven textiles, and even carbonized loaves of bread, were remarkably protected from decomposition. Let's move to these discoveries and see how this builds the broader picture. Because of this unique chemical preservation, archaeologists uncovered a city practically frozen in time. We can study intact domus architecture, examine the precise inventory left behind on merchant shop counters, and literally read vivid political graffiti still clinging to the plaster walls. It provides us with an incredible, uncorrupted primary data set of daily Roman life exactly as it existed 2 millennia ago. But there's a catch. Exposing these ruins to oxygen and moisture after 1,700 years initiated an immediate process of rapid deterioration. Today, the archaeological struggle isn't just about the race to uncover new secrets, but highly meticulous conservation. Modern teams are fighting a constant battle against weathering, biological growth, and historical theft to stabilize this incredibly fragile stratigraphy while continuing to document the site. Ultimately, the material culture we uncover, every home, every carbonized loaf of bread, humanizes the data. It grounds this massive site back down to the human level. It reminds us that this was a living community. We're looking at ordinary families, everyday workers, and merchants, whose complex, vibrant lives were violently halted in a single catastrophic moment. Pompeii was a city that embraced economic growth and cultural adaptation, only to be buried in an instant. Yet, the eruption wasn't the end of its story. The city still speaks to us today through its frozen stratigraphy. So I leave you with this final thought. How profound is it that the exact geological mechanism that annihilated this civilization became the precise chemical reason its story will endure forever? Thank you for attending this explainer, and keep questioning the science and history right beneath our feet.